Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is getting closer to the middle point of 2023, and given that we only have one episode left of Star Wars The Mandalorian Season 3, a lot of fans are really embracing the Ahsoka Tano series, which by the way, was mainly written by Dave Filoni, and how it's really going to be essentially a recreation of Heir to the Empire, so I do suggest that you guys go ahead and read up on that story to get a little bit of an idea of what John and Dave are cherry picking from that particular story. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that there's a lot of things happening between George Lucas, John, and Dave, and how they really are acting together as a team, as a trio, if you will, to really propel Star Wars in a better direction. Given that, of course, Kathleen Kennedy to this day is still struggling with the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew after numerous setbacks, numerous delays, and production issues on set. The list goes on and on for her. However, the great news about what George Lucas recently convinced Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau to do with an upcoming Star Wars project, I believe, is really going to fulfill the fans and reunite the fan base if executed correctly and done in a manner that's really going to impact the audience deeply on an emotional scale. So let's tap right into all of this. Now, given that, of course, we know that Disney executives right now are very much desperate to bring Star Wars back on track, and how Bob Iger wants to bring Star Wars back to the theaters mainly. That's his overall plan, is that he wants Star Wars back into, of course, theaters to rely on repeat ticket sales and stuff around those lines, and to kind of have the shows more or less of being a supplement, if you will. Now, with many new Star Wars projects in the works by Dave and John, as well as Disney and Lucasfilm, creator George Lucas recently got Disney to do something incredible for the fans. Now, it's noted that recently both Lucas and Dave Filoni have been in the notes phase of developing Dave Filoni's Star Wars movie that's going to take place some years after the events of The Mandalorian Season 4. Both Dave and George recently came to an agreement to create a reunion for characters like Luke, Han, and Leia again in the up-and-coming Filoni film that is going to focus on the New Republic era. The plan is to either recreate Luke through deepfake technology by ILM, or to do a full-on recast. This is something that they are actively trying to figure out right now for the film. Lucas also reached out to Harrison Ford in an attempt to make a deal to bring him back as Han Solo, though of course using similar techniques of de-aging technology to what they did in Indiana Jones 5. Harrison is still being standoffish about that, but showed signs of interest. If all goes bad, they plan to digitally recreate Han Solo in the Dave Filoni Star Wars film for the franchise. As for Leia, they will be doing a similar technique to how they recreated her in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, except in a more perfected state provided by ILM as well. Now, the Filoni film is said to be George's vessel to bring the original trilogy characters back together again on the big screen properly this time, in order to make fans satisfied. Now, let me just stop right here for 1 second. Now, we talked about this before in the past, about how they are going to be igniting a new sequel trilogy in a sense. Not where it's going to take over 7, 8, and 9, but it's going to be considered a quote-unquote sequel trilogy. Another one, so to speak, a post-Return of the Jedi trilogy. The Dave Filoni movie is the beginning of 2 more Star Wars films. If it deems to be, of course, proven to be successful, of course, that's going to give Filoni that open slot. But the thing about this that really stands out to me the most is how Lucas is the one who convinced Dave Filoni to move ahead with bringing Luke, Han, and Leia back together again. The fact that Harrison Ford is very standoffish about this is no surprise, guys. It seems like Harrison Ford never really liked his character Han Solo. He always never, spoke of him highly. He always wanted him killed off earlier on in the originals. And I think that's why, to be honest, he came back for The Force Awakens, because he wanted his character to be killed off. And I would not be surprised if he also came back for The Rise of Skywalker to absolutely confirm that his character is dead by use of that vision. So, anyways, the thing about this too is that George and Dave are now working on the notes for the Star Wars movie that's going to open up a gateway to becoming a trilogy by focusing on this New Republic era, all post-Return of the Jedi characters coming to the big screen that you know and love in, of course, the Mandalorian series. So expect to see characters like Din, Grogu, Ahsoka, Ezra, Thrawn, all those characters that are going to be in the Mandoverse are going to be bundled up together in this massive project by Dave Filoni. That's the big plan, and we talked about this months ago, and they just announced this movie at Celebration. Now, moving on to the next thing, is that Filoni wants to make sure that this Star Wars film will be the most respected one out of all the sequel trilogy movies. The process to get Harrison Ford back for the Filoni film is an ongoing development, and that Disney is now already speeding up Filoni's production for his movie to get it out sooner rather than later. Filoni's plan is to also have the film have multiple time jumps that will showcase different iterations of these characters at different ages for the fans to see. So basically what that translates to is that we're going to be getting different ages of Luke, Han, and Leia. We could very well see them together again in their very young years, leading up to when they're more middle-aged. Very much possible. So Lucas is the one who convinced Filoni to move ahead with this plan for Luke, Han, and Leia's return in the upcoming Star Wars film, that he begins writing, by the way, by this summer. So Dave Filoni's going to go to work on the script for this massive movie that's going to be used as a gateway for a new trilogy and a new sequel trilogy, basically, so to speak. Now listen, good on Filoni. I'm really proud of him. The fact that he's finally getting a project that's going to throw him into the film industry and kind of just going up the ladder from streaming to movies. That's great and all. That's fantastic. He's really going to do a great job with this, but he's going to be helping out with the main writers that he's going to be choosing for this Star Wars film. He's going to mainly be directing it, but he will also be helping out with the writing. So they're looking for a main writer as well to really aid in the story. We're not quite sure who that's going to be just yet. Most likely we will be learning more about this as we get closer to the summer, so stay tuned about that. But I'm not surprised about this. I mean, this is probably one of the most genius plans by George and Dave to bring those characters back to the big screen. Listen, it can't be done in a cheap way. It has to be done in a very immaculate way that's going to really come across as, you know, Filoni really putting so much time and effort into these scenes. So this plan to reunite the characters, Han, Luke, and Leia, it may not be as impactful as it would have been if they had the full original cast together, you know, alive and well in the sequels. So now they have to rely on deepfake and de-aging technology and stuff like that. But the fact that they are approaching different iterations of the characters, they might not have to use the de-aging technology as much if they want to enhance the experience, such as showing us older variants of Luke, Han, and Leia, for example. They wouldn't have to de-age Ford or HAMILL that much, but they would have to recreate Leia, obviously. So this is a very interesting movement by George and what he got Filoni to do. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about all of this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.